Almost 9:30 p.m. and we're just getting going here at the Bowl Mart. Just outside of beautiful downtown Rouse's Point. Phew, this is King of the Hill competition. Somebody is smoking around me here. I have Jim Tierney and Larry Friend. Tierney finished in 4th place in the qualifier, and he's off to a slow start, getting 9 pins. Friend finished in 5th place with an 867 total for the 4 games plus handicap. Tierney with an 881. So Friend strikes. He'll bowl his 2nd ball now in lane 8. The number 1 finisher gets to pick the lanes. Normally the bowlers, I'd say the first bowler bowled 2 frames. Normally they just go, the first bowler bowls and the next one bowls 2 frames. And okay, John Roberts. Here we have the averages and the handicaps for the 5 finishers. We're in 7 and 8 here, and it's I'll show you in a moment exactly where we are. We are behind the counter here at the Bowl Mart. Everybody has always gone to that end of the alleys when they've won. This is the first time we've ever been at this end of the alleys. The number 1 finisher gets to choose the lanes. So we are right here behind the desk. Whether I'll stay here for the next 2 games, I don't know. I may scout out down below to see how that would work out. Because there's not enough room for me and my legs both going in the same direction here. It's very narrow, so I have to turn sideways, and there's no room for my knees here. Okay, let's see how they stand at the moment. The score with handicap is at the bottom. So after 3 it's 66 for Tierney bowling. You get to strike. We're very close here, 67 to 66 after 3, both of them working on a strike. And now Tierney is bowling 2 in a row. Actually, yeah, okay, yeah, Jim is... And leaves the 7 pin. So handicap-wise, very close. Jim Tierney carries a 190 average and 18 handicap. Larry Friend carries a 192 average and a 16 handicap. Handicap is arrived at based on a 210 average, and you take 90% of your average, the distance between your average and 210, and that's your handicap. So Tierney, who is 20 pins away from a 210 with a 190 average, very easy to figure his. 90% of 20 is 18, so he has an 18 handicap. All of the bowlers have pretty good averages. although people like John Roberts, who have 0 handicap, have a tough time qualifying in this kind of competition, because they're both 4 games, and they throw in the handicaps times 4 before they even start. So a person with no handicap would have had to bowl close to 220 scratch. Tierney bowled just a hair over 220 scratch, if counting his handicap. He bowled 881 for the 4 games plus with the handicap. So in order for a scratch bowler to do that, he's going to have to bowl 220 4 times to give him 880. But Friend was the 5th qualifier. He was at 867, so something like 218 probably would have sufficed for an average. So somebody with no handicap really has to extend themselves in this King of the Hill competition in order to qualify for the final 5. I didn't read the chart wrong. I believe the King this year will take home $300. At the moment, in the 5th frame, Friend got a slight lead over Tierney as a 105. There's Tierney's second ball. He'll pick up his spare. So Friend with a 105 through 5. That's with handicap. The top number is the scratch score, and the bottom number is the score with handicap. The handicap is added in right at the very beginning, so you know where you stand throughout the match. Tierney needed that strike because he was 13 pins behind, or 10 pins behind Friend, so that strike actually makes up those 10 pins. 105 in the 5th and 105 in the 5th, but Friend has his fill ball to throw. Tierney has a 115 working on a strike. Now Friend strikes. That keeps him with a 10-pin lead over Tierney. Gives him a 115 through the 5th, a 125 in the 6th, and both bowlers working on a strike in the 6th frame. So Friend has an exact 10-point lead over Tierney at this point. He kept that one to the right, but since he's working on a strike, he can still come out of here with a spare, and it would be scored the same as if he went 9 in the first ball and 1 on the second. But he's going to leave a wiggling pin, and he's going to get only 9 for the frame. And that's probably his first open. Gives him a 143, and that opens the door for Jim Tierney. Jim Tierney was the longtime manager up here at the Bowl Mart, but now working at Wyeth-Ayres, so he's very familiar with these lanes. Leaves the wall, a little picket fence. Well, he can get a 137 plus a fill ball in the 7th, and he picks up this spare. When he does, he has the lead, because even though Friend has a 143 and Tierney has a 135. 135. Actually, they're pretty close to being tied, because Tierney needs at least 8 on his first ball to to tie Friend in the 7th. And he gets 10 on that ball for a strike. So it gives him a 2-pin lead after 7. 143 to 145. The big difference is he's got a strike in the 8th. And to keep pace, Friend's kind of got the pressure on here to bowl a strike. He can stay in the hunt. And he does. He comes through with the strike. So that keeps the pressure on. He has a 2-pin deficit. Tierney leading by 2 pins. Both bowlers with a strike in the 8th. So it's 155 to 153 with handicap. So it's going to come down to the 9th and 10th frames. Leaves a 6-10. So Friend picks up his spare. Well, Friend's going to end up bowling last because they started off not bowling in a proper sequence. 173 for Friend working on the spare. And Tierney can be in the driver's seat here with a strike. And he is in the driver's seat. Gives him a 175. Anything but a split here would leave him looking good. A late drop. So Tierney has, with handicap, a 199 at the moment. Going for his spare. He needs to pick up the spare. And he jizzed by just a hair. Just barely got that wide pin. He's at 203 right now. So he needs a good hit here. And he gets it. He strikes. Now if my math is right, my math is right, Friend needs to strike out. If he strikes out, they can tie. 40 pins would tie Tierney, but he needs to strike out. Needs 4 strikes in a row to tie Tierney. Gets the first one. Larry Friend still alive in this one. That is the first ball in the 10th frame. Gives him a 183 through 9, 193 at this point with 2 fill balls. Needs to strike again. Needs 3 strikes in a row, not 4. And he's not going to get it. He's going to leave double wood. So the best he can do now would be 203. If he had struck out, he would have tied Tierney. So Tierney bowls a 195 scratch. Finished with a 213. Friend picks up the double wood. So 195 scratch to 187 scratch. 213 to 203. Next up, Ferguson and Jim Tierney. Chris Ferguson bowls his first ball in the second game of this King of the Hill match. Ferguson finished number 3 with a 900 total. He carries a 187 average. He has a 20 handicap. Tierney has an 18 handicap and starts off a little double pinochle. 4-7, 6-10 split. So this is a chance for Jim to make a nice split here on Hometown Cable. This is a great opportunity for him. Hope he appreciates this. I don't think he did. All you youngsters at home, that is not the way to pick up that spare. He tried for the 2 pins and he wasn't even able to get the 2. So he gets 7 in his first frame. And he's trailing early here. Oh, looked like he had a strike, but left 1 straggler. Looks like the 6 pin to my untrained eyes. And he picks up. Well, gives him a spare in the second frame. Gives him a 35 through 2. Ferguson has 30, working on a strike here. And he's throwing his first ball in the second frame, leaves the picket fence. Ferguson finished with a 900 with handicap. Bill Connolly was number 2 with a 911 with handicap. And Tony Jarvis, the number 1 bowler, 918 with handicap. And Ferguson misses the head pin, and he has himself an open here in the third frame, or second frame, excuse me. That gives him 48 through the first 2 frames to Tierney's 35. Tierney, of course, working on a spare, so he could come out of the second frame with a late drop on a 10. You'll take that. He'll take that. That was the plan all along. Well, Tierney could come out with a 45 here if he gets a strike through the second frame. So that would put him only 3 pins behind Ferguson. Here's Tierney's first ball in the third. And it leaves double wood, so he does not get the strike. Puts him 4 pins behind in the third frame, in the second frame. 43, actually leaves him 5 pins behind. There's his second ball, looking for the spare, and he's got it. Tierney picks up the spare. Bowling now in the 4th frame. He gets 9 pins on his first ball in the 4th frame. Gives him a 62 through 3. Needs this mark to keep any kind of pressure, even though we're nearly going here. If he had another open, Ferguson would have had an open door to build up a comfortable lead. So Tierney spares, gives him a 72 with the spare on the 4th. Ferguson with 58 through 3, working on a strike. Gets another strike, he doubles. So he's already got 68 through 3. Gives him 6 pins ahead of Tierney, plus his next fill ball here. And he's really keeping the pressure on. Chris Ferguson coming through with the triple. Gives him a 108 in the 5th, working on a strike. Tierney bowling his first ball in the 5th. He's working on a spare. He needs to start striking, and he's not going to do that one. This is Tierney's 6th game. They bowl 4 qualifying games. So this is the 6th game of the evening. The spares. In order for the number 4 and 5 bowlers to make it to the final match, they have to win 1, 2, 3 more matches besides the 4 that they bowled to qualify. So now Tierney again missing a strike. Another chance for a spare here, but when he's trailing by this many pins, he needs more than spares. Got a 105 or whatever. Tierney picks up his spare. So he is quite a few pins behind Ferguson right now. It's like 108 with 2 fill balls through 5. Tierney had 98. Four bagger for Ferguson. And he gets 6 pins in his first ball. So his string of strikes finally comes to an end. He's got 150 plus another fill ball. So he is close to 50 pins ahead of Tierney. Tierney working on a spare in a 6, has a 108 through 6. Ferguson a 154. So that's a 46 pin difference. So the pressure is really on Tierney right here. And he gets 7 pins. I would say at this point that that's about all she wrote for Tierney. I don't follow, barring a complete collapse by Ferguson. And that nail wasn't in the coffin before, it is now. The last thing Tierney needed was an open. Gives him a 124 through 7. Still can't get the strike.
There, Paul.
So Ferguson with a 164 through 7. Ferguson can just about wrap this up, or Tierney would have no chance at all. Tierney through 8 has a 134 working on a spare. take a complete collapse from Ferguson, and that just doesn't look like it's going to happen here. He just struck again. $184. Eight pins. 192. He can have a 194. If he gets a spare, 60 pin lead. And Tierney can't pick up 60 pins. So Ferguson has wrapped this one. Picks it up. Gives him a 194 through 8 to Tierney's 134. And there's no way that Tierney can pick up 60 pins to even match him. But he's not rolling over. He gets the strike. So that gives him a 154 plus his 2 fill balls. Strikes again. So here's the situation. Ferguson with a 204 through 9. Tierney can pick up another 30 pins, so he could tie him. They can tie him. $194. If he gets a strike, he ties Ferguson, and all Ferguson has to do is knock a pin down in the 10th. And Tierney does it. He ties him. So it forces Ferguson to throw a ball. Forces Ferguson to throw a ball. And all he has to do is get a pin down. And it'll give him a 206 at that point, because he'll get the pin for itself, and he'll get the pin as a fill ball for the spare he's working on. So he gets a spare to start the 10th. Tierney bowls a 186 scratch, 204. Tierney's average a 190, so he didn't bowl too bad. Just 4 pins below his average. Ferguson with a 187 average is going to be quite a bit over it. It's another strike. Ferguson right now shooting on the wrong lanes there, and he's so used to switching lanes, so the machine didn't register it. He gets a 9, and that going to cut into his total because he had that strike, and I'm not going to count it because he was on the wrong lane. So instead he's got a spare possibility, which would give him a 234, which he already had prior. So let's see, 204, 186, and 234, 214. Stay tuned, another one coming right up. All right, Bill Conley is about to begin. John Roberts down there trying to figure out how to operate his machines. They're going to decide who's going to go first. I'll say, okay, Conley's ready to go. First ball of this game, he strikes. And there's a strike, and Scoreboard is ready for him. So now Ferguson will bowl the next two frames. Conley will bowl the last frame. It's a close batch. Ferguson with a 187 average, Conley with a 186 average. Ferguson with a 20 handicap, Conley with a 21 handicap. Conley hit 911 for the 4 games plus handicap. Ferguson hit an even 900. So Conley finished second and Ferguson third in the qualifying rounds. It looks a little darker in our picture today. Ooh, it's an open. The light is out here on the left. It's the only light that's out in the place, and it just happens to be one of the lights that would help shed a little light on our subjects here. Here's Conley bowling in the second frame, working on the strike. And look, a great opportunity for Bill Conley to pick up the 7-10 spare. A great opportunity for Bill to pick up the 7-10 spare. Never been made on hometown cable, so what an opportunity for him. He must be excited about this. And it still hasn't been made here on hometown cable. Sooner or later we'll get one. So it gives Conley machine says, hey,
I made the 7 and 10 on TV.
Very good. Money, look at that, great.
See that? I made the 7 and 10 on TV. Back it on the line.
I could have destroyed the tape. Just gone by the scoreboard, he would have won. He would have got this 7-10. Gets 8 pins, leaves these 6-10. I feel like the ball is sticking for him. It's a little sticky, a little warm in here tonight. The temperature has been in the 70s all day. It's like the ball is sticking in his hand. He gets the spare. So it gives Conley a 59 through 3, working on a spare. There's Ferguson bowling. He could get a 58 here with a spare. And leaves the 4-pin. So he's got 57 right now. And spare would put them in a virtual tie, both working on spares with a 1-pin difference. And he's got it. So he's got 58 through 3, working on a spare, and Conley has 59 through 3, working on a spare. Here's Ferguson, and he gets 6 pins. Gives him a 70 at the moment in the 4th. Misses his spare. I heard a pop as he released the ball. Sounded like the ball stuck a little bit on, probably on his thumb. Here's Conley. Chance for him to move ahead. Leaves a 10 pin. So he's got a 68 through 3. 4-pin lead. Over Ferguson, but he can pick up this spare. But we've seen 10-pin spares missed many times, but not this time as Conley picks it up. Still playing with his thumb. He's already bowled 4 games. Well, Conley working on a spare, bowling now in a 5th frame. Has a slight lead over Ferguson, but he has a mark in the 4th as opposed to an open for Ferguson. He'll take that. He'll take that. Looked like he had another split to contend with, but he got a late drop. A late drop. Traffic. Well, Conley spares. Ferguson strikes in the 5th. He needed that strike. This will help close the gap. He could actually close it up real tight here with a triple. Here's his second. No double, so he can't get a triple unless he gets a double. Left the 4-pin. So through 5. He'll get a fill ball here, assuming he'll get the fill. Give him 92 to 96. (92-96) through 5. However, Conley still has a fill ball to add to that 96. Ferguson has a 102. Working on a spare through 6 frames. There's Conley. He gets 9 pins. So that gives him a 105 through 5 and a 13-pin lead over Ferguson. About halfway through the game. And Conley will spare. So through 6, both players working on a spare. It's 102 to 115, 13-pin difference. Pin difference. Very easy to make that up should Conley get an open, or if Ferguson should start throwing strikes. Conley another 9 pins. Last week with the Queen of the Hill, saw something I do not recall ever seeing before. About 5, I'd say 5 or 6 9 zeros up there, where the bowler in the Queen of the Hill competition got 9 pins in her first ball and missed the spare. I believe 5 or 6 times in a row. Conley's going to miss this spare, so he'll get himself a 9-0 up there. So I saw about 5 or 6 9-0s in a row. I've never seen that. Where a bowler would get 9 pins and consistently miss the spares that many times in a row with only 1 pin to get. Here's Ferguson. He gives him a chance here. The open for Conley gave him a chance. He's not jumping on it just yet. Gives him only 3 to add for his fill ball, so through 6 it's 105 to 124. It opens it up to a 19 pin difference. But if he can spare here in the 7th, he'll make up a few of those pins. And he does. So through 7, Bill Conley has 133 with handicap. Chris Ferguson has 115 plus a fill ball. If he gets a strike here, it gives him a 125. Plus he's working on a strike. So this game's still up for grabs. That open for Conley there really left the door open. Late drop on the 10, so Ferguson probably happy to just have 2 pins to knock down here. Gives him a 131. In the 8th with another ball to throw. Gives him a 123 after 7. 10 pins behind Conley through 7. So 133 for Conley after 7. 123 for Ferguson. Ferguson spares in the 8th. So a 10 pin difference going into the 8th. Conley needs a spare to keep that 10 pin advantage. It's 9 on his first ball. One thing having the playoffs on the 7-8 did was took all the crowd away. Normally the crowd is behind the bowlers cheering for both of them. As Conley spares. In this case, some of the people would probably be in the crowd cheering or bowling instead. So it took the crowd away from the action. Just not a good place to view it here when you decide to bowl on the 7-8. There's Conley in the 9th frame. He strikes. So now Ferguson will finish up the bowler's 9th and 10th frame. He is 20 pins behind Conley, 153 to 133 after 8 full frames, and Conley struck in the 9th. So Ferguson has to at least strike here. He's trailing by 20 pins, so he cannot afford to not strike. He struck, so he really needed that one. This is the semifinal. Next one will be Tony Jarvis against the winner of this one. So it's 153 to 163. Both bowlers working on a strike. And looks like Conley will be in the driver's seat. 165. And Conley will just need to spare in the 10th frame, but he'll still need that spare, I think. Just 9 for the frame. So that's a sudden way for the 10th to end, 171. if let's see what Conley gets here. We're going to double whatever he gets. 20. So that does it. He's now tied. Oh no, he's at the lead. He's 171 to 173. No, 183. 2-9 is 173. 183. So Conley has won this one. Ferguson bowled only a 151 and a 171 with handicap. Conley gets 9 pins on his first fill ball in the 10th. With handicap right now, he's got 201. So Conley will advance to the finals to play Jarvis. Conley spares. So it's 151 scratch, 171 with handicap. For Ferguson, 181, 202 with handicap. So 202 to 171, Conley will advance to the finals. It's Tony Jarvis. Just 9 pins in his first ball. He's the number 1 finisher. Carries a 174 average, 32 handicap. So Bill Conley with his 186 average and 21 handicap will be spotting Jarvis 11 pins. That's the biggest gap we've had between the bowlers. Ironically, it's been reverse order. The best average, lowest handicap was the number 5 finisher, Larry Friend, with a 192 average. The number 4 bowler, Jim Tierney, had the second best average with a 190. Ferguson has a 187 average and Conley 186. So it was reverse order as far as the top 5 finishers, average compared to where they finished. So the biggest handicap difference we have seen thus far is Conley gets an open here in the first frame. Has been 2 pins. Friend spotted Tierney 2 pins. Tierney won by 10 pins. Tierney spotted Ferguson 2 pins. It's Conley strikes. Ferguson won by 30 pins. Ferguson spotted Conley 1 pin, and Conley won by 31 pins. Jarvis, it's 9. Working on the spare, second frame. Jarvis spares in the second. Conley working on a strike. Jarvis on a spare. Jarvis has a 61. Now he's bowling in the third. Hey, that's an unusual one. This is highly unusual. 3 pins in the back. That's 7, 8, and 10. Let's see how he's going to do.
Oh, look at that!
Almost got it. That's an unusual leave there. Would have been an unusual spare if he'd picked that one up. It gives him an open in the third. 75.
1, 2, 3, 7, 10, 3.
So Conley, a chance to make a move here. He's trailing. He had that open in the first frame. And Conley gets a baby split here, a little bit of a split. 8-10. Almost looked like he had a field goal. Let's see, here's Conley. Oh, they gave him the... There's a split. 37. Scratch through 3. Another split. The top seed has won every one of these thus far in this playoff for the King of the Hill. They only gave it a good try. So with a couple of splits following that strike, Conley's going to limp out of this with a 67 through 4. Jarvis has 75 through 3, so strike here really puts the old pressure on Conley. There's him an 85 plus 2 fill balls. Conley, without the fill balls, is already trailing by 18 pins in the 4th. Conley is trailing by 26 pins in the 4th. 34 pins. Oh, excuse me, 24 pin. 26 pins, I guess, plus whatever he gets here, 28 pins. So Conley is trailing by 28 pins in the 4th. 67 to 95. So 28-point lead for Jarvis. Not sure if I've mistakenly called him Ferguson once or twice in this match, but it's Jarvis against Conley here. This is Conley. He's trailing. He's working on an open, so he needs to start marking quickly. Best he can do is a spare on this one. And when you're trailing by that many pins, it's tough to pick up pins, and all you do is spare. Conley's going to have to start getting putting a couple strikes together. And he gets that spare. So 105 working on a spare through 5. So 77 working on a spare. So that's 23 and 5. 28 pin difference. Jarvis leading Conley by 28 pins. Conley knows he needs to bring up a couple of back-to-back strikes. And he can't quite seem to get that first strike. He got one, I believe in the second frame he had a strike, and then followed it with 2 opens. .96 through 6, working on a spare. And that's a killer right there. Jarvis is in control at this point with that strike. He's really in control. He can double. Conley would be all but out of it if Jarvis can double. Should just about wrap it up for Jarvis, even though we're only in his 7th frame here. Gives him a 145 through 5, a 115, 135 with another fill ball through 6. There's Conley with his fill ball. Gets a strike. He had to have that to have even a glimmer of hope. He had to have that strike. It gives him a 106 through 6. It's a 29 pin difference. Jarvis is working on a strike in the 7th. Conley has got to keep pace. Jarvis actually working on a double. So his first ball in the 8th is going to be counted 3 times. His pin count. Conley leaves the 6-10. And he is all but mathematically eliminated here. And that did it. That did it. Any hope he had. That was the nail in the coffin right there. 134 through 8. Jarvis working on a double. 145 already. Oh, almost left the 7. That would have left him a tough spare, but he gets 8 pins. So with another fill ball to go, he's got a 161 through 7. Picks up the spare. So through 8, Conley is frozen there with that 134 because he's got an open. 39 pin lead for Jarvis, and he's working on a spare, so it's going to be over 40 pin lead after the 8th. Jarvis strikes, and that's it. He is one. He is one. Here's Jarvis, a 151 scratch with a strike in the 9th, a 193 handicap. Conley with a 134 cannot make up that many pins. Leaves another 610. Bill Conley carries a very respectable 186 average. But he's not going to be close to it today. He won't even hit it with a handicap. There's him a spare in the 9th. With a 144 going into the 10th. Jarvis has won this one. Conley says, why not? So just 2 strikes. Gives him a 131, plus he needs a spare. He's got the spare, gives him a 141, so he can hit 150 scratch, 151 actually. He can hit 151 scratch. And a 172. This is his last fill ball. So he'll end up with a 150. And a 171 final. 150, 171. 150 scratch, 171 with handicap. Jarvis has won this one. Just looking to see what his total will be. So he gets a 10, he gets a split. So good place for this one because he's already won this one. Just gonna put a crimp in his overall total, but he has won this one. Jarvis is a 174 average, so he'll get the 9 pins for the 10th. Gives him a 179 and a 211. So Jarvis gets the final by a 211, 40 pin, 39 scratch, actually 29 scratch and 40 overall. All right, the money was awarded. This match is history. That's going to wrap it up. 2002 coverage of the King of the Hill here at the Bowl Mart, beautiful downtown, just outside of beautiful downtown Rouse's Point. If you've been watching Hometown Cable TV that's worth your support, you get to see fellows just like this when you tune in. Thanks for watching and for supporting Hometown Cable's efforts. I was happy in Vermont tonight. Oh, drive carefully. Don't drink and drive. I guess